Let's talk to former Met Detective Peter Bleksley on this. Regularly helps us out on matters criminal. Peter, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
It's interesting, isn't it? We have for so long discussed, and you and I have discussed, I don't know how many dozens of times, about how this crime has been relegated. Could there be a tipping point here where we've seen so much of it, the big raids on those stores in Oxford Street, en masse, organised by social media, this curious incident where it appears an alleged shoplifter was apprehended by the keeper, and of course what happened in addition to all of that was that there was a protest outside in defence of the alleged shoplifter, etc. Could all of this point to a tipping point where we do start to take it seriously again?
Well, it'll be a case of whether the police decide to take it seriously or not, because for a couple of decades now, they've simply turned their back on shoplifting, generally speaking, same as they couldn't be bothered to investigate domestic burglaries, car crimes, or give anybody any kind of investigation if they had their phone or their bicycle stolen. So this is what you get.
Yeah.
If you abandon the streets to the criminals, which is exactly what has happened, because the police have claimed in recent years they're too busy going from one 999 call to another,
Sure.
Far too busy to do any patrolling, then this is where you end up. And it's not shoplifting, it's pillaging on a massive scale. It's looting. I think that looting is a suitable word. OK, we don't have the broken windows, but the scale that we've got it on and the amount of the value of property that's being stolen and the violence that is accompanying this theft so often, yeah, it's gone way beyond shoplifting.
Yeah, indeed. We've had these incidents which are kind of beyond disturbing, really, because we're not seeing people in balaclavas under the light of a silvery moon, Peter, sneaking into the back of a shop, trying to get in when nobody can. This is broad daylight. This is brazen stuff.
Yeah, and some of those people in balaclavas are leaping over counters, violently assaulting staff, emptying the displays of alcohol, cigarettes, other high-value stuff. But then at the other end of the scale, you've got people just walking in and helping themselves. I saw a man walk into a coffee shop where I was queuing to buy and pay for my coffee. You know, strange old concept that, going into a retail outlet.
Bit oddball,
yeah.
Pete.
yeah, I hope it'll catch on, to be honest with you. And a guy just walked in, just helped himself, drink, food, and walked out. And there are so many stories like this that I've heard from people, friends who are in retail. It's just off the scale.
Why do we not have a politician who stands up, though, and say, you know, in the same way that, you know, knife crime, arguably a more serious offence, but shoplifting in the kind of ways we've seen it is not a victimless crime. It's you know, a terrible crime. It's often a terrifying crime for the retailer or other customers who are in the store at the time, whether it's because violence is sometimes used or intimidating behaviour, or just seeing somebody nick something that isn't theirs. I think, you know, there's a human instinct to find that very disturbing and destabilising. I certainly do. But with knife crime, where we've seen politicians try to create the mood music, they're going to be stricter on this. I'm not hearing Rishi Sunak say, right, OK, do you know what? Forget what we knew before. If you're caught shoplifting, you'll go to jail for at least a year. I'm hearing nothing.
No, absolutely. The silence is deafening. And the silence is also pretty deafening from the police. We did have a chief stand up the other week and say, we're going to investigate all crimes now. Really? Well, that'll be very interesting.
Yeah. They
may get some more time to do that because many forces are now not going to respond to mental health calls unless there's a threat to life or a crime being committed. So that will free up some time. But you see, what has happened with policing in the last couple of decades is that it's actually moved away from its core business, which is policing, and has become some kind of social service. Yeah. And the reason for that is because those that sit in power, in the ranks, in the corridors of power, are all university educated. And when they came back with letters after their names, as well as in front of their names, they came back with their heads full of a load of pseudo-intellectual, fluffy, liberal claptrap, which has absolutely no place whatsoever in policing. And this is what we've got. They're more interested in perception. Oh, how will this look in the papers? They're the conversations that go on at New Scotland Yard, not conversations about policing. And this is where we've got. It's been a failing of senior management. They've not only failed the public, they've failed the rank and file, and now look at the state of the place. This country is a powder keg.
Yeah. You're not wrong, Peter. Thank you. As ever, Peter Bleksley, former Met detective, with us here on Talk TV. I don't even know where to... you factor in all the things we talk about, and I know there is often a danger that you can kind of OD on the bad news. And, I mean, here at Talk TV, one of the things we do incredibly well, have always done very well, is reflect the things that are great about this country and why this country is not yet a lost cause, and how it's full of good people and hard-working people and law-abiding people and people who are diligent, and common sense will prevail at some point. But every now and again, you look at this and you think, man alive, how many more times can we discuss these kind of stories? How many more times do I have to come here at 1 o'clock and discuss... Well, not for very much longer, frankly, because Julia will be here in a couple of weeks' time. I'll be doing a very different show, but that's another story. Now, how many times will Julia or me or Mike or Kev or anyone have to sit here and yet again wheel out another story about criminality, illegality, immorality, all of these areas that kind of feed it without any real sense of condemnation